So let's talk about what Blackish got right and what they got wrong. It's really hidden in plain sight. We really try to hide it. So what they got wrong was, like I said, with the whole clothing thing, is that we try to, even though we wear the same clothes, we'll still try to minimize it and say, I'm fine, I'm good. Like we'll play it off. We'll put together something to play it off so that people don't worry about us, because that worry actually translates into, now you made me feel even worse. Now I really feel like I'm being a burden on other individuals, right? So it really does play into that. So we try to hide it. Let's see, what they also got wrong is that women are usually pretty functional when they're going through depression. At most time, I'll say most women, not all women. Of course, this is a individualized disease, so every individual is going to go through it differently, but women are pretty functional. We can get up in the mornings, we can, take our kids and take them a bath, we can do homework with them, we can be pretty functional. However, what did happen in the episode, in the episode here with Blackish, is that her daughter came up to her and said, I'm going to a party. She's like, here, take your brother. Now, in that instance, I wouldn't say, I think that was more for a comedy relief. But where they had the incidents where she was in her room and she was just sitting there and she was just like, oh my gosh, that could happen. But when she was standing there and her kid was kind of dancing around and playing around and she was just crying, usually, oftentimes, women try to hide that. Women will, go in the bathroom and cry, go in the closet and cry, or cry in the car when there's no one else around. We really try to take ourselves and isolate ourselves and minimize the impact that we have on our family as much as possible. So, because it brings us guilt. It brings us guilt for other people to care about us when we care so much about other people, if that makes sense. Hey, it's a mom thing. What Blackish got wrong was when women actually take the Edinburgh or the CPT screening, a lot of women actually lie on those screenings because they're afraid that if they tell the truth about the way that they're really feeling, number one, like I said before, they become a burden on their families. They start to feel a whole level of guilt, as well as they don't want their children to be taken away. They don't want to be looked at or seen as crazy, right? They don't want that stereotype on them. So a lot of self-stigma comes into place there, and also stigma from outside, right? They don't want that stigma associated with them being a mother. It's already hard enough to be a mother and have people judge the way that you bring up your kids for X, Y, and Z reasons, than to take the screening now, and now your doctor knows and they can place that in your chart, so on and so forth. So a lot of women actually don't come out the way that Bo did in this episode. A lot of women try to hide it and they minimize it and they act as though it's not happening when it really is, because of the fear that's associated with that. A lot of women are afraid to tell, and the kids blame themselves. I think that was a great and valid point that they used in the episode, was that a lot of kids start to blame themselves. When you see a lot of kids that are acting out in school, that are bullying you in school, that may be skipping school or what have you, it usually is because the mom is going through something at home and she's unaware of what she may be going through, and how she's how that may be affecting her child because she's in it. Just to be clear and just easy and simple with it. So I'll go ahead and tell you that I had a time when my son came into my room and asked me, Mom, why are you so sad? Why are you so angry? Because a lot of this manifests into anger. Now, what Blackish did do is they had a point where Bo kind of lashed out. What I'd like to see, especially because I'm an African American woman, and when African American women go through postpartum depression, it is a lot different than when other women of other nationalities go through postpartum depression. We tend to take what we're going through and lash out in anger. So a lot of it can be, on the Blackish, she kind of had a valid reason to be angry. But at some points, we will lash out and we don't have a reason behind it. Really, truthfully, we're just angry and we're upset because our stress level is here. We can't access our emotions. There's all these things that are going on with our neurons and things to that effect. We literally are just at that point and we just lash out. And that's the only way for us to really release, because we can't release in other ways. And also the amount and the level of stress that we go through on a daily basis. I wish that Blackish would have explored a little bit more, maybe had a 2-part episode on how this really affects African American women. And not only from a standpoint of in the home and with our families, but when we go out to physicians and we're seen by physicians that are not of the same race, that don't understand the daily struggles we go through, the amount of stress that we encounter when we deal with racism every single day, when our children deal with racism, when we have to see these images on social media, on television, when we have to deal with our bosses, treating us like and diminishing our intelligence and treating us like our views and our points aren't valid points, our views. So I really wish they would have explored that a bit more, because we go through daily stressors every single day. And that heightens the amount of stress that we hold on ourselves, on our heart, on our brain, on our emotion, everything. And it starts to manifest, and it starts to transfer to our children, to where our children are even born with high levels of stress, which add on to and contribute to infant mortality rate. So I wish they would have explored that a bit more. Now, what the family did do is they supported their mom by taking the baby. She went and she did the PPD test. They had anxiety test. They talked about, the mother called her like mentally ill and all this stuff. That really happens in the Black community. A lot of people believe and think that this is something that you can cure with just prayer, or, you should be doing, you should be afraid of it or what have you. But really, truthfully, if we looked at our history and we really did some research on it, we would find that this isn't something that's new. Women have been going through this, especially African American women have been going through this and battling this a long, long time. And we did it without medication, which brings me to medication. And that's not to say that anything is wrong with medication at all. But they had where she basically said, she made the case that I don't want to take medication because I'm nursing. And I totally wholeheartedly believe that. I was the same way. I did not want to take medication. I was nursing, and good thing I didn't, because the medication that they tried to give me, come to find out, was recalled. So, but with that, if you are an individual who does take medication, do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself in your body. But there are other means and other ways that you can take care of yourself, that you can get better without using medication. So I wanted to give you some of those ways and talk to you a little bit about some of the indications that someone may be going through postpartum depression. If you know someone who's pregnant right now, if she already had her baby, or if, whatever the case may be, or you think they may be and you're not quite sure. So some of the indications are, like I said, appearance. That's first and foremost. Not enjoying things that they used to enjoy. Not being able to correctly correlate or contextualize certain, because for me, a lot of my speech was slurred. I couldn't even, sometimes I would say one thing when I meant another. Like I would say, hey, take the milk and put it in the cabinet, when I meant to say the refrigerator. I remember one time I told my kid to put the cereal in the microwave, when I meant to say put the cereal in the cabinet. It's like, Mom, you said put the cereal in the microwave. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I said put it in the cabinet, didn't I? And they're like, no. I've had incidents where I've even taken the milk and put it in the cabinet. And some of that can be contributed to fatigue as well. But those are kind of indications that something's wrong. Whether it's fatigue, postpartum depression, we need to get this mom, and this mom needs to have a moment to rest and to recoup, right? And just to relieve herself of her duties right now, right? So that's that's a couple of different points that you can look at. Some of the other points that I usually tell a lot of the physicians that I consult on this in African American women is anger. Huge one. If you have a mom that's lashing out, that just seems like she's just completely just on edge, those are indications and it's not just her personality. It's not just, Black women are angry and mad and yell and scream all the time. It really, truthfully, there's something going on. There's a deeper issue here, and we need to address it. That you need to tell that that woman, that mother, that, hey, you need help. If you see these things happening, then you need to say something. It is an obligation to you to say something. So a couple of different ways that you can start to heal from postpartum depression and come out of the well, as I call it, is really social support, getting out there. What I didn't see in Blackish a lot was her getting out there and getting social support from other women who had gone through it, hearing those stories, connecting with other women and having play dates, so on and so forth. Social support is so, so important, especially when you have multiple children. It's so important for you to get out there and speak to other women and other moms. Journal exercising. What they did do is they placed her with a journal in the episode, which was great, right? Because we definitely need a place and a space to have all of our own to really get out some of the emotions and the things that were going on. What I would advise is even starting a blog and helping other women who may be going through those same feelings. If starting a YouTube channel, starting to talk about some of the things that you're going through, and you never know, you may be able to help another mother, and that can pull you out of it. Just knowing that your story, something that you've gone through and something that you felt so deeply, can help someone else. How inspiring and motivational is that? So another part is time, allowing the mother to just have time to go through and cipher through what's going on. So some of the things that the family could have done to help mom through postpartum depression, which I wish I would have seen in the Blackish episode, but I understand. You only got 30 minutes, right? You got 30 minutes to deal with this topic. So happy moments and memories. So if you know a mom who's maybe going through postpartum depression, this is what I advise all mothers to do. Do a check, or all people who know a mother who may be going through postpartum depression or anxiety. Do a check-in. Show mom some happy moments. Show mom some happy memories, right? Support mom with supportive talk. Oh, you know what? You did great today. Oh, this is wonderful that you did this. Oh, I remember a couple of years ago when you blah, 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 and that was so awesome. Show her some of the accomplishments that she's been able to accomplish throughout her lifetime. If she hasn't been able to accomplish anything, well, you know what? You accomplished the laundry. Yeah, wash the dishes, whatever it is. Something that just can tell her, you know what? Yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, I was pretty boss when I did that. Oh yeah, that was pretty dope that I did that. It starts to bring up those memories. It starts to get her to access that emotion again. All right, so music is a huge one that I don't think a lot of people really understand, right? There is a neurologist, Dr. Sachs, Oliver Sacks, who did some studies and research around music and the brain and how music can really bring up an emotion and memory. Definitely check that out. It is something that we don't use often in therapy with postpartum depression and anxiety, but something we definitely need to look into. Music is a huge, huge one. Dance, also a huge one that goes along with exercise. Accomplishing a task, like I talked about before. Do something that she enjoys. Ask mom, what do you enjoy? What do you want to do? What is something that you've always wanted to do? Do it. Do it. Let's do it together. Let's find out how you can do this. Because then that brings the focal point back around and not so much about everyone else, but on herself. Yeah, you know what? Let me think about that. What is something that I want to do? Not something my kids want to do. Not something I need to support my husband in. Not something that my cousin wants to do, my mom wants to. What is something that I want to do that I would get excited about, right? Bring it back around to mom. All right, so that's another point. Journal, as I talked about before, journaling is a great exercise. If you don't want to journal, then do a blog or a vlog. If you're not great at writing, videos are a wonderful way for you to start to heal, for a mom to start to heal. I'm going to speak in a mom. So in a way for a mom to start to heal and start to look at some of the ways that she can really impact the world with her life, and not only impact the world, but also feel fulfillment in herself. And start to lose some of that guilt that she feels when she gets out there and does things for herself. So volunteering is a huge one. Now, of course, that needs to happen once baby gets to a proper age, all that good stuff. But volunteering and getting out there and helping other individuals is a big piece of that. And helping people kind of move forward is a great way for someone to get out there and start to see other ways that you can affect and make change in the world without it being your immediate family all of the time, right? Of course, we have joy in our immediate family, but there's also a great amount of wealth and joy in helping someone else in the world that you may not even know. So I think it's time now for us to start to look into ways that we can really support mothers better. There are organizations, of course, that are out there that provide social support and ways that African American women can start to realize and understand the amount of stress and toll that that's taking on their bodies. It's just now getting to a point to where we can heal. We definitely need to look into healing ourselves before we can get out there and help anyone else. Mothers are human. I think the biggest point here, mothers are human. So they ended it with kind of a funny antidote, but I wish they would have ended it with some ways in which you can heal, some organizations you can reach out to. I have to tell you that there are just now, within the last couple of years, African American organizations for African American women. Our issues, our topics, our views, things that we go through on a daily basis need to be discussed. And there needs to be organizations that really top that. So please check out the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe.